Hi, everybody. It's me, Jason Zlatkus, and I thought I'd start today with addressing a few things. Welcome to Coffee Breaks Thursday. It's me, and I'm the man you came to see, Jason Zlatkus. Here we are. Last week, each week actually, people comment on the different beer glass I have or the coffee mug I have, and I do different drinks per week, but the beer glass has gotten quite a bit of comments as far as all right, you're drinking beer while you're doing an interview, or you're drinking, why don't you have a coffee mug, and what are you doing? So you know what I mean, and then other people are like, wow, that's great, and so I get both positive and negative comments, and so I decided this week to be me and to to double down, and let's see what happens. So this week, here we go, Coffee Breaks Thursday with Jason Zlatkus, your host. And so welcome, everybody. Let's get right to it. Look at the size of this thing. I thought, well, you know what? Everybody wants to talk about it. Let's make it a thing. Here you go. The biggest beer mug you've ever seen. And it may or may not be beer in there. It could be apple juice. And so we'll just leave it at that. You never know. And so some other things I want to talk about before our guest comes on. I want to tell you once again, our producer, Warren Madden, one of my good friends, and he's become my good friend through the producing of this show and through the magic of the internet. And so we live on opposite sides of the coast, but we teamed up to do this show. So thank you to Warren Madden, who picks our guests. Once again, I don't pick the guests. I don't choose the film. The movie is Coffee Breaks, and that's why we're here. I starred in that movie. So let me talk about something else. Well, I was cast to star in that film, at least, anyway. So let me talk about something else. If you missed a few minutes of the show, the first few minutes of the show, you got to go back and watch, or you may not understand some of the things, because I love to kick it off with good stuff. So, but I was asked recently, every time I go on set, people want to talk about my hair. Lately, it's become a thing, especially here in Los Angeles. I'm not sure why my hair is such a topic, but I got told the other day that it was too leading man. If you can imagine that, I was told my hair was too leading man. Because they wanted me to play like an FBI agent that was sort of like a background guy, a featured background guy, but and so they were like, you look too good. You gotta take it down. So another time, I got there and they're like, wow, your hair is fantastic. And then they decided to not use me because I looked too good and I would be too distracting from their stars. So and these are just small jobs that I've taken just sort of for fun here in Los Angeles. I was on another set and a guy said, do you color your hair? So, there's one thing that I do want to tell you. Again, for those that missed it, we're rocking the big mug this week. We're going to see what happens. We're going to see what my dad says, really. But when I was on set, they asked me, do you color your hair? And the truth is I do not color my hair. I never have. When I was, doing purple and green and being like a punk, but I've never, doing the punk thing, not being a punk. Well, I was a punk too. I was a punk, but, I don't color my hair. I was for a while coloring my beard. So I stopped doing that, and now you can see what it looks like. It's gray. But for my brother who wants to talk about how my beard is gray, I grew this. What up? So, because he can't do that. So our guest today, we're going to get to that. Anyway, I wanted to address those things because I've decided I really like talking about myself in the beginning of the show while I wait for the guest to arrive. So a couple of shout outs I see here. Tyler Donovan, thank you for being here. Thank you for checking it out. As you know, he was our guest last week, one of our best watched episodes. So that was fantastic. A shout out always to Nicole Vegas, always watching the show. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate you, everybody who watches the show regularly. Thank you. Thank you for being here. You give me the reason to do this. Because otherwise, I'll be out doing something else. Probably eating McDonald's or something I shouldn't be doing. So, Anyway, we're going to see if our guest is ready to go. And our guest today is the assistant director on the film Coffee Breaks. And I was just told he's in the movie now. I guess that's some sort of cameo, and we'll find out all about that in just a moment. So let me see if he's here, and we're going to get right to it. He is not here. He's not here. So I get to talk more about me, which is my favorite subject. So I did a lot of training this week. A lot of training this week. Three different acting courses this week because I was told to get going on more training, you know, and you know that's the thing, right? Like actors sort of never stop training, and you know, I work a lot, and by that I mean I'm a working actor. I'm always on set, so that to me is a form of training. But since I've been here in Los Angeles, I don't want to, get right out there and do it. Like I said, I've been doing some sort of small project, some sort of dabbling stuff, really just for fun, just kind of for a few extra dollars so that I can go to, Fat Burger and stuff. But so I've been spending a lot of my time training, and I've had a blast. I've had so much fun just learning more about the craft. And, a lot of it, of course, I know, but there's always something more that I don't. And I think I've even just in the last couple of weeks, just in the last training, I become even a better actor. And that's something I wonder about as actors. So if you want to tell me the answer to this question, I totally forgot the question. Anyway, I'm looking for our guest. He's still not here. Let's take a look. Let's see if we can find him. I don't know how to do this find a friend thing, and I don't see him, so we're going to keep waiting. Warren, you're on here, so you got to find our guest. That's your job. Get our person to be here. Anyway, say no to drugs. Yeah, say no to what's in this glass, right? In Garrett Ford's there's a song called "There Should Be Beer," and that's a pretty funny song. He's a great singer. He's a good friend of mine. He gets a shout out often on the show because he's a great supporter. Hey, man, I'm really appreciating you guys watching the show. The guest hasn't even started yet, but thank you. And I'm sorry, I apologize for forgetting my question. Hey, love from India. Oh my goodness, thank you. We are international thanks to the internet. I appreciate the love from the other countries. That doesn't mean I don't love you guys from home and you guys who support me through the internet, but thank you to the worldwide we get viewership on this show, which brings me to the next thing. You want me to wear your shirt? You want me to talk about your project? We might do that. So we might maybe make that happen. I want to give you a heads up. Next week, we got John Lair, the Geico Caveman, is coming on. He's in the film Coffee Breaks. He's a friend of mine, so of course he's coming on the show. And then after that, we got Jahil Wentworth, who is playing, I can't remember, art dealer. Oh my God, thank you. Hold that right out of my my brain. Man, I'm a little off today. I wonder what is up. And it is not whatever drugs are you talking about. You know what? I'm still trying to find our guest. My weekend this week. Anyway, give me just a moment here. Let's go. Okay, wait. I still see Warren. Can you get our guest today? Todd Pierce. Todd Pierce wants to be my video. Here we go. We're starting the show. Welcome to Coffee Breaks Thursday. I'm your host, Jason Zlatkus, as always. And we're going to be bringing on our guest, the assistant director of Coffee Breaks. So we're going to get some real, hopefully some real actor insight. And it is possibly, it is the biggest mug I could find. And as I said earlier, the reason I'm still waiting for Todd to join. The reason I did this is because the glasses I've chosen each week get numerous amounts of comments. And so I decided to double down and see what comments we got. And really, I did it. I'm gonna let the cat out of the bag. I did it because my dad talked to me about it. Jason, you're on a show called Coffee Breaks. Shouldn't you be drinking coffee? And I said, yeah, Dad, but it's at like 11 o'clock. And so that means it's like, right before lunch. No, we did have that conversation, but it didn't quite go that way. Are you coming on, our guest? It's 5 o'clock somewhere, which is what I tell my boss when I want to go home from work. Hey, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, right? No, I don't have that kind of a job. Forgive me. We're losing our audience the more I try to talk. Here we go. Let's see. Trying to get Todd on. Todd, approve. There we go. Let's see if he's coming on now. Still trying to get Todd on, our guest, the assistant director from Coffee Breaks today. Next week. I probably won't do the beer mug. It was a joke. And I did it specifically for a joke. But we're going to see how it plays out this week. Let's see what's going on. Come on. We got our guest coming on. What else can I talk about? So yeah, acting school's going on. My haircut is fresh. I finally found a barber in Huntington Beach. And because I was, you know, I hadn't had my hair cut. Oh, Liz, good. London, shout out to you in London. You are a great supporter of not only me, but of the show. Thank you. You're one of the few people who's getting a calendar sent to them overseas. So look out for that. I appreciate you guys. Hey, so that's another thing I want to talk about is giveaways. I'm going to start doing that. I'm going to start giving stuff away. I have a lot of stuff, and I asked you guys if you wanted it, and I don't know if you knew it was from me. I don't know if you knew it was from films I've been in, or if you knew that it was my stuff. Maybe you think that I've got some collection of relics I want to give away, but I have stuff from me that I'm going to start giving away on the show, so please keep watching. I'm going to check in with our guest again, Todd Pierce. We're going to try to get him on the show here. We're adding him. Here he comes, maybe. It says adding. Let's see what's going on. So again, shout out to all our viewers across the country. Hey, here he comes, Todd Pierce. You would think these directors... Well, you would think assistant directors would know how to use a camera and get live on Facebook, but
you'd think so. Unfortunately, I'm an actor first, so
You're an actor first, so that's why you can do it. Like I can't do it. Same with me. Every week I have this thing where. So let me tell you before we start. Your camera's a little fuzzy. Yeah. It's a little dark on you. You're a little fuzzy. Is there anything you can do to kind of hone in here? You're an actor first.
Actually, I kind of like to stay like this in filter so that no one can identify me, if that's okay.
You got it. If that's a needed thing. It's odd to be on a public show.
No, it's not. You know what is the problem? Hang on, is my my lens cracked, and the crack is going right through the camera.
Now it's budget filmmaking, right?
It's budget filmmaking.
So that's what we do. And my dad
wasn't ready for.
Another thing you didn't know you were a guest this week. You guys always do that to me. Tyler was in his car last week, and Sarah was driving around the city one week, and and Warren, you got to tell him. We're doing a real show here. And
give us a chance to get online, man.
So,
cheers.
Anyway, yeah. Okay, so my fans are amazing. Shout out to you guys again. Anyway, we are broadcasting here live from Los Angeles. This is Coffee Breaks Thursday with our host, Todd. I'm your host, Jason Zlatkus. What is going on today? Todd Pierce is our guest. There is Todd's living room. He's turned around. That's a much clearer photo of you. We love that angle. We like to see it. We definitely want to see our guest on film. We love it.
I can't see you, though.
You can't see me. Okay, that's okay. You don't need to see me. The fans want to see me. That's okay. Here we go.
Exactly.
As long as you can answer the questions, that's the good part. So let's get right to it. Welcome, Todd. Thanks for being here. Coffee Breaks Thursdays with Jason Zlatkus. And
thanks for waiting.
Yes, we do every week, and it gives me an opportunity to talk about myself, and I love that. So, maybe Warren should not change a thing. And Warren Madden, our producer, bringing it to you live. Here we go. Todd, the first question I start out with. Tell us how you came to be, because I love this question. How did you end up being the assistant director on this? And now we're going to talk about your part in the movie. But for now, let's talk about how did you end up being involved on the film Coffee Breaks?
Okay, so I was working with Matt Sly.
Matt Sly, our director.
The Sly Fox. And I was working with him on another project called Solace Sum. And I had a small part on there. I was the father towards the end. And since then, I've kind of worked with Matt. He's local here. And he needed an AD, and I told him I'd be happy to help. I can kind of lend an actor's perspective to the direction, and perhaps that'll help.
So being in another film with a director led you to getting the assistant director role on the film. And you were in, of course,
Right.
Soul of Some. That's SOL of SUM, Soul of Some, for those who want to look it up. Matt's first film. Of
Right.
course, it's the film that landed him this project. It's an amazing movie. And you're in that.
Yeah, I'm in that, and it was fun. It's mostly shot in what I consider my hometown, Woodland Park, Colorado,
Mm-hmm.
just up the hill in the mountains, beautiful. And that's also partially how Matt and I met, is because that's where he lives also. So I currently live a little further down the mountain in Colorado Springs now, but still able to go see him. It's only about a 30-minute drive.
And the film, we're going to shoot coffee breaks in Colorado because the equipment is there, because you guys are there. And so we actually
Yes.
changed the location of the movie film to be shot in Colorado. So when you say further down the mountain, we all understand Colorado's just a mountain. So,
It's one big
right?
mountain.
So,
The tip of the iceberg, so they say.
that's right. It's just a giant point. So how did you get cast in Soul of Some then? How did it lead to this? How were you involved? Obviously you're local. That's happened to me. You know, I work local projects. I think everybody does, which is why I live in Los Angeles, because I want to work local projects. So how did you get involved though? Was it a site? Were you just pals? How'd that work?
Well, let me tell you, Jason, it's all about who you know, and you know how that goes. No, my mother happens to frequent an area that Matt works, and they met each other. She told him that I do a lot of acting because she's a busy, nosy. I love you, Mom, because you're gonna see this. But she likes to know what's going on with people, and she's a very kind person. She likes to be empathic. And so she asked him what he's doing. He said he's a movie director. She said, "Oh, well, my son." And there you go. So you know how that works. And then so we met each other. He asked me if I'd like to audition for a role. I said yes. I auditioned. I got the role, and the rest is history.
So, okay, so your mom indirectly got you the job, right?
Yeah, yeah. My
So,
mother is the one that introduced us together to each other.
right. So my mom is like that person too. I think that's where I get a lot of it from, is that my mom is like, oh, my son. You know, I used to own a toy store. And so my mom would always be like, well, my son owns a video game store. My son owns a toy store, you know, and now she's like, well, my son's an actor, you know, my son and all this stuff. Right. So to the actors who are watching, how often do you think, Todd, someone's mom is involved? Is that often?
Oh,
Is
I
it?
mean, I think it is to anyone who pries a little bit into other people's lives and likes to kind of matchmake, not necessarily a romantic way, but uh, you need that and he wants that, and maybe the two of you will work together. When it comes to small towns, Woodland Park, well, was much smaller, but that's another story. It's a lot larger now, and so my mother, when we lived there, in the 80s, 90s, it was a smaller town, and she kind of knew everybody. You kind of know everybody in a smaller town, and so when the new person comes around, she's interested in knowing who you are, and can she be friends with you,
When you say
and
small town, what is the population? And you say it used to be larger. Is that because half of it broke off and slid down the mountain, and now it's called something else? Or
no, it was
and what
actually
is your
the Avalanche.
population of Woodland? Give us an idea, because I live in LA, right? And I probably have more people than you have just on the freeway. So
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
I used to live in LA, so yeah, by far. Your freeway is probably the total sum of Colorado Springs and the surrounding area, or Woodland Park and the surrounding area. It was
right?
I'm sorry, I meant to say, if I said it was larger, I meant to say it was a much smaller town
Oh,
at one point. Um,
okay.
when we moved there in the 80s, it was
Oh,
one stoplight, and most of the roads were not paved.
so you've lived there a
So
long
that's
time in Colorado, then?
Yeah, we've been here since 1976. I was a 6-year-old little guy, and um,
At what
moved
point
up to
did you live
Woodland
in
Park
LA? When you were 5? Like, what do you mean? Like,
when I graduated high school. I went out to
oh,
Los Angeles, and I lived in Los Angeles for off and on for about 12 years.
tell us about your acting experience. Give us a little bit, because I tried to do research on you, and you're somewhat of an enigma to me even. So let's tell our guests, everybody here, I'm going to learn too. Tell us a little bit about your acting experience, because you said, well, I'm an actor first, so because I assumed you were a director first. So, and I
I
know a
got
few
you.
more things about you, but tell us your acting experience. I mean, is it?
Well,
Yeah, go ahead.
oh, okay, no. So like like most of us that are actors started when I was in grade school, and kept going through high school. I went to some forensics tournaments, is what we call them out here, but it's speech and debate, and did really well in that. So I was kind of on a roll, and I think maybe even I peaked in high school. I don't know. But my big thing in senior year was I got to do Tevye for Fiddler on the Roof. And so a lot of people were telling me that I should try to audition for the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. And I was thinking, okay, so I audition for them, and then I give them my money, and so they're actually deciding whether to accept my money or what. No, I'm just joking. But so I got into the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. I went through the 2-year program that they have there, and uh, good grades. I met some of the local directors and started doing some like off Hollywood, like Sunset plays, and I started doing some direction at that point. I started directing some plays, um, learning a little bit more about the craft. But I also just kept coming back to acting, and so after I graduated, um, I, like most actors, had to go out and get a job. So while I was working, I was trying to get gigs, trying to get something. Didn't really get a lot. Then under acting, one day came a heading of actors wanted, and so I was like, okay. Wound up being Universal Studios that was hiring actors to do their tram rides, and so I got to be on the Universal Studios tram tour, ladies and gentlemen. It was wonderful. I was
That's
there for about a year or
fantastic.
so. Yeah, I met my wife there, um, ex-wife there, and
Hello.
right after it happens, man. Right after that, so you may hear my dog bark in a minute. I
That's
apologize for
okay.
that.
Warren had stuffed
But
animals in the back. Some of our guests are unprepared. Anyway, keep going. Keep
so
going. So please, so you met your wife, Universal Tram. You're telling us. So
yeah,
the
and
school led to acting, led to Universal.
led to Universal. Universal led to I did get a couple of voiceover gigs and realized that I liked that quite a bit too. And so I kind of felt like I was able to move around in a few different places. And then tragedy hit, and I ruptured a disc in my back and herniated 2 more, and 2 more were bulging. So it really blew my back out one day at work when I was unloading some product for frames at Aaron Brothers. You probably know that framing company there.
Yeah.
I was working there at the time as kind of a district assistant manager. I went around and worked for anyone that had an assistant manager that needed a break or whatever. I filled in for
Sure.
them in the Southern California area. Then after I was injured, I was out for about 4 or 5 years. They told me I'd be in a wheelchair from now on. At best, I could use a walker probably to get around because I wasn't paralyzed, but I had a lot of injury. But I gained a lot of weight, but I got rid of a lot of weight and wheelchair and the walker, and I'm walking around pretty good now. uh, After
Yeah.
that, started doing some voiceover work with uh, Kalmanson and Kalmanson, which is a local voiceover company, and the Voice Box, which is run by Rick Zeef in North Hollywood, I believe is where it is. And I worked also with a great lady named Randy Thomas. She kind of mentored me, helped me with voiceovers in a commercial sense, as opposed to doing characters or silly cartoon voices or something like that. Um, Met a lot of really, really amazing people that have done voiceovers most of their life. And so the guy that does the in a world where life meets death and stuff like that, met all those guys. Awesome
Right.
guys, just regular guys. After that, I had some things happen here in Colorado, so I moved back here for the time being. Then I got a divorce. Then I got remarried, and and then and then she has passed. So now I'm kind of back to just dealing with me again. And so I'm going to start doing a lot of this acting, directing, whatever I'm needed for. As long as I'm competent to do it, I'll do it.
So wow. So, that's a lot to take in. That's quite the story.
There's more, but
Let,
I'm not going to bore you.
yeah. Sorry to hear about your wife. Let me ask you,
Thank
um, how important then do you feel? Because you sort of almost you launched your career from school, from you got accepted to the academy, and so how important do you feel that training and schooling is for an actor? Maybe versus working on a set or just in general. How important did you feel it was to launch your career?
Well, I'm going to speak just for me, and it's going to probably be pretty controversial, but um, I think that sometimes people absolutely need to learn acting, which is really just taking direction correctly. In a way, you have to have some talent as well. But if you can take direction and you're a person, you can make the connection that I just need to act like myself. Really, you can make that leap fairly quickly without uh, going to training. Not always, but so when I went to the academy, I found that the things that had served me so well for the previous 5 years or whatever, however long I had acted on a regular basis, failed me. And I'm not sure. I've in retrospect, I've looked back to see if I was being torn down to be built back up, or if I really was just I stank at what I was doing. Um, but and then since then, no, I found out that I was able to act and I was doing a good job and trying to conform to the way that they wanted me to take their direction sometimes rubbed me and them wrong. But for the most part, going to the academy was fantastic. I met a lot of wonderful people there that I'm still in contact with. Uh, but some people will need to go and learn how to take direction. You may not take direction well at all, and that's not good because that's what your job is to do your part and then listen to what they want and then change it to their objective, their vision. And that's kind of where I'm going to be able to help, I think, in that if some actors are not able to make that leap over to what the director is looking for, I might be able to find a lot of times just talking with someone in about the right subjects will help them bring out the kind of emotion the director's looking for, which may be their only problem. So
So
hopefully, I'll be able to lend a hand in that area.
I totally feel what you're saying is that that the director wants it sort of in a certain way, or sometimes, but how much of learning to act, and I agree with a lot of what you said, because I've done the training, I've done the school and all that stuff.
Yeah,
um
notice.
Thank you. How much of acting is just learn to be yourself on camera? Because if you're yourself, you're going to get cast, because if you're not right for the role, you're not going to get cast, right? That's how I look at it.
Right.
If
Yeah.
because so how much of acting school, how much of all the training, how much of all that, how much of it is just learning to be yourself on camera?
That is a large part of any kind of training, and that was probably the most valuable part of going to the academy for me, was the film aspect of it. It's a different way of acting entirely than doing plays. Uh, Doing plays, you're trying to get an entire through line with the idea of what the script is bringing, okay, and have it make sense continuously until it's finished. And as most people probably know, that's not the way it's done with film. It's broken up sometimes, and it's reshot over and over, and it's reshot in different locations, possibly, or wardrobe, or actors, or so. As far as doing film training, if you don't have any experience with film, is I would say almost mandatory, because they're spending so much money when you get to a set that they don't want to have to train you from day one.
Oh no, they
You
can't
know,
even. They don't have time to even talk to you about it. You have to do it. Right, right.
you have to be ready to go. And
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
and so if you can get training for film, that's fantastic. But as far as, and that's kind of what I meant, is that training you how to act like a person, sometimes you get in your head and you start thinking, well, okay, so how does a person act? Well, okay, we're talking about just act like yourself. Yeah, like you said. And if someone likes my look, my build, and the abilities that I put forth in my audition, I probably have a very good chance of getting the call back. But if I go in and I put on some sort of act like I'm some other person and I talk with a funny voice, you're not going to get anything.
So
And
I love that you said that. I love that you said that because I see people create these characters that are somewhat like outlandish. And so let's ask this question then. How hard is it for an actor to, because I've done both, how hard is it for an actor to jump from theater to film? Because a lot of people start in theater and we learn things in theater where you project and you act so that but on the camera it's multiplied 10 times. So you have to learn to stop doing that stuff. So
yeah,
how hard is it for an actor to make the transition from theater to film? In your
I would
experience.
say, yeah, by my experience for sure. For me, I filmophile. I love watching every type of movie and genre. I stop and go onto one, checking out the westerns. Side note, going, working at Universal, that's where so many of the early westerns were shot, and seeing all the tricks that they used for film, and the way that they would shoot it, and stuff like that, and actually working at Universal, there it's a working studio, so they're actually filming on the lot. And sometimes you have to have everyone be quiet because they're about to shoot, but it only lasts for several seconds, maybe half a minute or a minute, and that's it, and it's over, and then you can talk and everyone can go on again because they've stopped, they've either taken it or they're going to reset for another shoot. And once I started understanding that, making the leap from theater to film was easy. I had already learned in the academy that you have to bring it down. You can't be wildly using your arms and
Right.
stuff, and the things that you can't be going like this with your face and stuff because it's all, you can see it all. So
Right.
you have to be a person. Yeah, doing this kind of stuff. Well, I don't know. I mean, if you know somebody like that, I guess, but I don't know a lot of people that act like James Bond and or there's certainly crazy lady running around on the street with curlers in her hair, dumping trash cans. Yeah, that happens, but it's probably, if you're looking for that character to get cast, wait a long time. Probably because it's going to go to
Yeah.
someone like Sherry O'Terry or something like that. One of the actors or actresses that, they still like to dabble, but they're not trying to get the big roles, but they like to do the character roles. It's going to go to them first. So
That person's
try
going to
and
be the
do something.
neighbor. That person's going to be you're never going to be the principal doing that stuff. And you can tell that when you go into an audition that person's theater trained, if they get all big and boisterous with it, and overly with the top.
And you may think that what you're doing is you're showing them the full extent of your abilities, but that is not what they want. That's not, they don't want to know that you can tap dance while you're singing, unless they ask for that. You
So,
know, what
so
they
what
want is
do
they
they
want
want?
you to come in and give them these lines, but try to do it like a person and put something behind it. Whether it's got to be I hate this person or I love this person or whatever, you use that emotion to say, hi guys, I've come. Is everybody here ready? Whatever.
Sure.
So you're not trying to really put on anything other than you. If you're a likable person, and sometimes not a likable person, whatever, you may be short, tall, fat, any color of the spectrum. If it's you that is there and genuine, they're going to say this person's going to really relate well on film to the audience. That's what you're looking for.
And you talked about, let me give a shout out to coffee breaks because we're about halfway through and Warren will start yelling at me if
Coffee,
I
coffee.
don't. So right, so we're of course we're here because of Coffee Breaks. That's what brought us together. The film. You're the assistant director, and now you're going to also be in the film. I'm in the movie, along with we have a lot of great talent that's in the film. We have Wesley Ure and Kathy Coleman from both who appeared in
Yes.
Land of the Lost. Of
Yep.
course, John Lair, the original Geico caveman. Jesse Heyman, this great working actor. The guy's star meter is so low, it's like ridiculous. And
Wow.
we got Celine Alva, we got Liz Fletcher, Sarah Christine, Tyler Donovan. There are so many people. I'm sure I'm forgetting people. I do every week. So if I didn't shout you out this week, of course, shout out to the writer Tracy Simpson. What a fantastic story, and shout out to Matt Sly, our director. So
Yeah.
you also now have been added to the film. Was that his idea, your idea?
That no, no, not my idea. That was Warren had we chat once in a while, Warren and I, and we joke around and have fun. He's a great guy, and he was saying that he had this character that he'd been thinking about, and he wanted to know what I thought about it. And I read about it, and I said, yeah, I think it sounds good. I think it sounds funny. We'll run it by Matt. And he said, okay, but would you like to play the character? And I don't know if I was really just being modest or if I was really seriously going to think about it. But I said, well, let me think about it for a little bit. Some more
Oh, lost you there for a
information.
split
He
second.
gave me some more
Okay, go ahead.
information about it and stuff. And then the next thing he knows is I'm saying, yeah, okay, I'll do it. And so we talked with Matt about it, and Matt said it's a good idea. So yeah, I'll be in it.
So is it a sort of a cameo then, or how do you look at it? Because being the assistant director, do you look at it as a cameo, or do you look at it as, I'm in this picture? How do you look at it?
It is supposedly a recurring role
A
that's
recurring
going to
role.
be
Okay,
played.
sweet. So your plan then for the television series when from Amazon,
Yes,
which is all the talks about and all that, which I got
right.
to work that in there organically. So, so
It does.
you mentioned that you're a voiceover actor,
Yeah.
or you did some voiceover. How does one get into that industry? I know we have a lot of people who want to know how to do that, and a lot of people suggested it to me because they always tell me, "Oh, you sound like Tony Robbins, or you sound like an
You have
a-hole,"
a great
whatever they
voice.
tell me. So,
As long as they don't, I was going to say, as long as
how
they don't say you have a great face for radio.
a great face for radio. That's it. So, how does one get into that, or how did you get into voiceover work? You said you got hired by a couple of people, but how did that pan out, sort of?
Oh, well, okay. It all goes back again to my childhood. I watching cartoons, Bugs Bunny, um, things like that. I would try and imitate them and make my family and friends laugh. And as I got older, I got a little better and found that there's certain people I can imitate and there's certain cartoons I can imitate. And then I started kind of branching out and trying to understand a cartoon or animated character like they're a person and where are they coming from. And though it may be a monster, he doesn't have to sound like this, but he also doesn't have to sound just like this because most monsters probably don't have a regular human voice. So you
Right.
alter it a little bit, you change things around a little bit, you experiment. But realistically, it took me going to Kalmanson, which is a voiceover company that has worked with absolutely everybody in Los Angeles and around the world that's come to Los Angeles to do voiceovers. Um, and they taught me a lot of things that I didn't know about voiceovers. And after I was done with them, I went and started working with a private coach, Randy Thomas, um, who was a DJ in Los Angeles for decades, and also does a lot of things for the uh, Kodak Theater as far as tribute award shows and stuff like that. Uh, as I was working with her, I started working and getting some gigs. That just takes being confident and relying on what you've been taught. Can you go straight out and get a voiceover thing? Well, you can go out and get auditions, yeah, without any training all day long. Um, but again, they're looking for you to be able to know what they're talking about be able to be professional with the microphone and so on and so forth. And that's what you're going to learn when you go to a localized group like Common or
So you would recommend then? I know you said, because we kind of agreed that acting school, may or may not be necessary depending on your level, but so you're recommending then if you want to be sort of in voiceover though, you should get training.
you should get trained if you're going to go into voiceover, not necessarily for your voice, but um, you like now when I'm talking to you, I'm employing different techniques that I've heard so that I don't have to yell or project, but my voice is loud enough to be heard. You also learn a lot of technical things that you're expected to know as an actor, a voice actor. So I would say with film and voiceovers, if you didn't grow up around the equipment and the people that are doing it, or you don't have friends who have a sound studio and you didn't mess around, okay, those things right there will help you. But I still say a small course is at least due before you go out, because you don't want to make yourself embarrassed and you don't want to upset anyone in the business that may be a future boss that's going to pay you money. But if you do something, messed up, they may remember you next time and say, let's not choose that person.
When you auditioned for parts for voiceover work, do you have a professional setup? Did you do it from home? How was, I mean, it was a while ago, but how would you do it now? Do you have a professional setup? How does somebody do that from home nowadays? Do you know?
Well, so no, from home, I would say not a great idea. I mean, it's possible if you have the right setup and kind of either a lot of patience, sorry, a lot of patience or a soundproof room. If you have a soundproof room and a setup, yeah, then you are able to send all of your voiceover work digitally to the person that could be in Taiwan or Japan or the Netherlands, and you do the work for them and you send it to them digitally, and they listen to it. If they like it, great. If not, they'll send it. They'll ask you to do it again, but in a different way. There are a lot of voiceover people that work from home that way. It's a lot of money to get a setup that good, especially if you're not yet a voiceover actor. It's kind of like going out and buying a car for Uber and not knowing yet if you're going to get hired. Not exactly, but
Right, but I
that
feel you though. But I do feel you. So how expensive is it to be an actor? To be to get in this business, how expensive is it? Like from your point of view, because for me, it costs a lot. I do modeling, and if I do a photo shoot, anytime I shoot in that outfit, it's done. So it's very expensive.
absolutely.
I mean, what's been your experience? With schooling, with living
Well,
in Los Angeles, what's your expensive? What's your experience?
well, then my experience is expense. So
Right.
you were right on. Okay, so when I went to the academy, I was a roommate of someone whose friend was a fairly well-known, maybe lower A list, high B list actor. He hasn't done a lot of work lately on the big screen, but he's done work with Tom Hanks and some people like that. This person that was in the academy at the same enrolled at the same time I did had parents who were well off, and um, I don't know if it was a coincidence or not, but wound up getting a serious girlfriend while he was in the academy, who wasn't in the academy, but whose father was a talent agent. And
Ah,
so through who and the money he needed, he was able to set up, a nice uh, presentation for his skills, pictures, resumes. I mean, it's very expensive to be an actor, but that was able to get him in front of people right then, right now, and that helped him out a lot. For me, I didn't have that. I was putting myself through college, and so that's why I had to work all the time, and um, that eats up a lot of your me time, or a lot of your rehearsal time, and stuff like that. So I'm just working, as everyone knows, you are your brand. You are your person, your body, your voice, and everything about you is the product. That is why you're called the talent and why you're treated special, because you are what you have to promote. You are what is special. And if you're able to figure that out and find that out, as long as you have the money to back you up one way or the other, I mean, it's not impossible to come by money, but as long as you're able to back yourself up and start making some money, and you put that money back into yourself, and it goes like that, and it should go like that, and you should always be bettering yourself with more acting classes, with more voiceover classes, with more film groups,
So
because actors that are out there do it every day. Every day, they still go to a coach, or they go to a group, or they go to a friend that they're good at acting with, and they work on their craft.
I, how important is it? Because I have, that was, I mean, I love that. Thank you for saying that, because I think that is important. How much promotion it falls on the actor? Like how much should you as an actor promote your own work? How much should you promote films you're in? How much should you how much responsibility is it of an actor to promote their stuff? And I know when we get to something like, the level of Marvel or whatever, you have a contract for promotion, but how much is it as an independent indie actor to promote their own stuff? How much responsibility is it fall on you?
I think to promote yourself, um, it's hard for me. Some people probably not, but for me, it's hard to promote myself to because what I need someone that's going to go employer and say, hey, this is the guy you need. You may not have heard of him. You may not know who he is, but if you don't put this guy in your film, I promise you, he's the next best thing. I need someone that'll do that, and I don't feel comfortable doing that for myself. Um, that's where the agent or the manager comes in. But also, if you are a working actor and you're finding that you've got less and less time to kind of maybe through social media self promote yourself, um, you may need to hire someone for 60, I don't know, however much it's going to cost, maybe $160 a month to maybe 200. Who knows? Anybody want the job? Anyway, you've got to find somebody to kind of help you with your social media, and that can help you with the self promotion. But see, I find it tricky because some people have no problem with someone getting on and saying, "I'm awesome because I got this job, and I'm going to be, the king of the world," or whatever. Uh, and that's okay. But some people look at that as arrogance, or um, you know, some people get turned off by that kind of self promotion. So, where in self promoting, where do you stop? How far is promoting yourself too much and making people turned off of you? So that's why for me it's been better to have a manager or someone that I trust in a talent agency to look for those jobs, send them the information, and that is my biggest
How
part of myself, is making sure that I've got good material for them to look at, listen to, read, hear, whatever it may be. That's my part of the promotion that is undeniable. But getting out there and telling people everything, that's up to you, I think, personally.
How important then, in your opinion, is social media for casting? Because I know some people say it doesn't care, it doesn't matter, but how important does that play? Because every time I go to interview, oftentimes they're like, they look at my Facebook, they look at my Instagram. So how often is social media? How important is in casting? Is it not important? Is it important?
It is both. It is important, but not the. I don't know. I've been out of it for a few years, so I'm not the authority on this. Uh, but when I was, and I still do work with social media and some other aspects of my life,
Um, I think that social media is invaluable. I think that you have to have that presence on social media. As far as getting casted from it, that is probably a good tool for them to look at. But I think really at most it'll get you. You got to put effort into it, and you put a little effort into it, and along with your social media, you may be able to get into a casting call or a callback. Because if they see you and they want to know a little more about you, and you've left them your information, they may go look on your social media. But some people, you know, you may not. You may want to make a professional social media page in all aspects because your friends getting on and yelling about this, that, or the other with some pictures that may not be. You don't want your you don't want people to see that. So you kind of want to make two pages. And I on social media found a casting call. So it didn't get me the job. I went and got the job on social media. I was in Georgia, and so I went to the first casting call of The Walking Dead. Uh,
Wow.
and yeah, I was looking for a part, and they didn't have a part. They wanted me to be a zombie, and I didn't have the time to get into the makeup and stuff like that every day at the time. So it didn't work out, but it was pretty cool. I
Right.
saw Nick Taro, didn't get to meet him, but and I didn't see any of the stars. But yeah, and so you can find work there on social media sometimes, but I wouldn't use it as the tool to get you work by any means. It's just
Okay.
another tool.
So we're getting near the end, but let me ask you, I did want to address this. Warren says you have an improv comedy background. Is
Yeah, I
it
do.
okay? So tell us about that. Tell us about your improv comedy background. I definitely don't want to miss out on that. So how
Well,
important how
and
important is it for improv classes for because everybody's like, oh, you should do improv, you got to do improv. How much acting, how much improv? Tell us how you got involved in improv and how much it affects you as an actor. How much you need it.
okay. Well, in theater, and most people that are in theater will know they'll usually warm you up with some sort of an improv. Oh, it could be something very simple, or it could be something more complex. I found I loved doing that, and wanted to continue doing those games a little bit more instead of going on with the play that we were trying to produce. But um, I really started to enjoy those. Then I got hooked on watching Whose Line Is It Anyway, and decided one day, get these wild hairs, and they say go do this, and so I'm like, oh well, let's see if, and I prove to myself whether I can do it or not. And so I here in Colorado, I went and I applied to two um, improv groups. One, which is very high profile here in the area, and they do a lot of large functions on a large stage. And then another one that does smaller stages. I went with the smaller stages first. Worked with Improv Colorado for a little while, and I think that I did it just because I love it. But I also think because part of what we did was to train people how to do improv in the workplace, or actors that were trying to learn improv. And so either myself and someone of the other people, or myself would go maybe to a house or to a business, and we kind of get them opened up and get them learning why is it good to rely on your fellow, in improv. And it's the same kind of thing with acting. Improv is important because of a lot of reasons. One of which is if I forget my line, I may go on with some improv. If I was supposed to say, Johnny was a star and he'll always be famous, but instead I say, yeah, about Johnny, he was sure a ruffian. He liked that. Well, at some time you might be able to help me out, or cut me off with what you know is your first line, or if it calls for it, you may improv with me for just a second until we both figure out what the scene is. But it's better than dead air, I believe, and it gets you ready for things to happen at a moment's notice. Someone comes in early on their. It's not so much for acting, okay, but for acting, it kind of comes into play when they are asking you to improv some lines, and so you start thinking of, they have you go through the list, laundry list of why you're such a schmuck or why you deserve to eat dinner, and that helps a lot with improv. But that's kind of Will Ferrell and the SNL guys material, and it might not be asked of regular actors to be done, right? But usually not.
Right. So it's more, you would say it's more for then, would you use improv? Because I've had to use it in theater when another actor would drop a line or when, but I've never really, I mean, they go, okay, we want you to improv a scene, but it's usually when they're not listening to you, usually when it's MOS or something like that. So you're saying it's more used in theater then, is what you're saying, more used on stage.
I mean, as far as doing it, as far as performing improv, yeah, I think so. I think that it helps an actor in film just be ready, because if you're supposed to be doing a scene without a partner, and suddenly they like, okay, well, we're going to put a partner in, they're going to read these lines, and so you've got to be able to, improv will help you have chemistry with that person off the bat and go through the scene the way that the director wants you to, as opposed to being a little more rigid in the way you thought the scene was going and should go. It helps you to loosen up and let go of those kind of rigid thoughts and be a little more able to bounce back and forth and pick up on, read the room and pick up on what they're wanting and what they're doing. Helps in a few other ways too, but that's like one of the biggest ways I can think of.
Okay. So you would recommend to actors to do it, to not do it? Like, I mean, it sounds like you're recommending to do it.
Yeah, I would say you should definitely do improv, even if it is just with some friends and local. If you can do it with someone who's an improv coach, all the better. If you can, it's just a loosening up. And if you already know how to, loosen up, and it's not your first rodeo, maybe you don't need to continue taking improv, but I would suggest at some point in time during your career, preferably as early as possible, you take some improv, you learn a little bit of the technique, and you understand that you're there for them to tell you what to do, and that's kind of where the improv comes in for film or something like that, in my opinion.
Sure, to help develop the character, you're saying, to help be part of that, to change on the spot.
May tell you, hey, Jason, why don't you do that with a Southern accent and act a little cowboyish. Without improv, you're going to just rely on what you've seen before.
Right.
And if you've never practiced it, it may not come across right. They may say, okay, well, scrap that idea. Let's go back to what you were doing.
Or you're not getting the job, perhaps. I mean, it could be one of those.
Things.
So
right,
tell us, again, I'm sorry, we're running out of time. I really enjoyed talking to you. Tell us where the audience can find you. Where can they find you online? They want to know about being an assistant director. They want to know about voiceover work. Maybe they can ask you, or maybe they can just be a fan. Tell us where they can find you.
Well, right now, it's probably easiest to find me on at Emerald Pictures. We have a Facebook account as well as a website, and so people would be able to contact me through that. I also have my own personal Facebook site and Instagram site, and I don't have all of the addresses in front of me, but
well, your name on Facebook, Todd Pierce, but what's your Instagram? Do you know your Instagram handle?
I believe it's pierce.todd.
Pierce.todd, PIERCE.TODD.
Yeah,
Very
I believe
good.
that's right.
Cool. And tell us, other than coffee breaks and doing these things, do you have anything coming up you'd like to say, you'd like to mention?
Yeah, I'm working on some an animated show for children. And in the back of my mind, I'm also thinking of some adult animation that we'll be doing down the road. I work a lot with some local and actually some people that aren't very local songwriters and musicians. And I write some songs and stuff like that. So I've got a new song that's going to be coming out locally.
But it might even be in the movie. We're not sure. If not, we'll put it in the series, and it'll be sung by Mark Edens. So
So you don't sing it;
that's
you
all.
just wrote it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a singer too, but I want him to sing it. He's got a really cool voice, and um, I haven't done singing. I haven't sang for a while, so I want him to take care of it.
Okay. So continue. I'm sorry. You were saying so you have this song you're writing, and he's going to sing it. And continue. And what else? Promote
Yeah, I've
anything you
got the
want.
song. I'm working with him. I'm working on the one animation, the children's animation show, which I'll be promoting that once we're a little closer, probably a while after we've been doing coffee breaks because I won't have the time. But other than that, yeah, pretty focused on coffee breaks.
Right, and most of us are. So back to coffee breaks. That seems like a great way. Before we wrap up, tell us, Todd Pierce, what is your advice to up and coming aspiring actors? Tell us something profound. Do you have anything like that?
Something profound.
Well, it doesn't have to be profound. I mean, it could be a SpongeBob quote, but say whatever you like.
Don't take yourself too seriously. You can be serious, but don't take yourself so serious that if you don't get a job, you don't get called back, that it's the end of the world. It's your job. That's going to be your job. Your job is to audition and take direction. If you can't do that, which is your job, then don't work for act. Don't do it. Don't even try. If you've got if you get hurt easy, if your ego is bruised, you don't do that. But if you can overcome you, and a lot of the idiosyncrasies and a lot of the attitudes that we have about ourselves, and through improv, through acting, through singing, if you can express yourself and people enjoy that, then what you should do is invest the money into yourself to take the classes and to learn the material and to practice the art. And if you can do that, you can be on film, TV, and if you're great and people like you, you'll be a star.
If you're great and people like you, you'll be a star. I love it. Can't beat that. Best thing I ever heard. Thank you. So, Todd Pierce, you've been a wonderful guest. I want to thank our producer,
Thanks,
Warren Madden. He's
Yes.
he's the guy who makes it happen. He arranges the guests. Don't ask me. Warren arranges the guests. If you want me to promote shirts and stuff, that's when you guys ask me. But I wanted to say that. I want to give a shout out to the rest of the cast. Thank you guys. I'm not going to name you all this time, but I am going to say the director, Matt Sly, Coffee Breaks Thursdays with Jason Zlatkus. Don't forget our writer, Tracy Simpson. And I appreciate everybody being here. Todd Pierce, thank you again. You guys are wonderful.
Thanks,
for watching. We'll see you next week. Thanks so much.
Have a good day. Bye now.